So the battle between the rational and the emotional systems can be brought to light by what philosophers call the trolley dilemma. Here's the scenario. A trolley is barreling down the train tracks, it's going out of control, and 5 workers are making repairs way down the track. And you, a bystander, realize that they're all going to get killed by this trolley. But you also notice that there's a lever nearby that you can throw, and that will divert the trolley down a different track where there's only a single worker who will be killed. So what do you do? Do you throw the lever or not? If you're like most people, you have no hesitation about throwing the lever because it's far better that only one person gets killed than 5 people, right? Okay, so that's a good choice. But there's a second version of the trolley problem that presents an interesting twist. Imagine that the same trolley is barreling down the tracks, the same 5 workers are going to get killed, but this time you're a bystander on a footbridge that goes over the tracks. And you notice that there's an obese man standing on the footbridge, and you realize that if you push him off the bridge, his bulk will be sufficient to stop the train and save the 5 workers. Do you push the man off? If you're like most people, you bristle at the suggestion of murdering an innocent person. But here's the thing. What differentiates this from your previous choice? Aren't you trading 1 life for 5 lives in both versions of the dilemma? Doesn't the math work out the same way? So what is the difference in these 2 cases? Philosophers propose that the difference lies in how people are being used. In the first scenario, you're simply reducing a bad situation, the death of 5 people, to a less bad situation, the death of 1 person. In the case of the man on the bridge, he is being exploited as a means to an end. So that's a popular explanation in the philosophy literature. But there's also a more brain-based approach to understanding this reversal in your choice. Neuroscientists Joshua Green and Jonathan Cohen did brain imaging while people considered these 2 scenarios. And what they found was that the difference pivots on the emotional component of actually touching someone, that is, interacting with them at a close distance. So if the problem is constructed so that the man on the footbridge can be dropped with the flip of a switch through a trapdoor, many people will vote to let him drop. But there's something about interacting with the person up close that stops most people from pushing the man to his death. Why? It's because that sort of personal interaction activates these emotional networks. It changes the problem from an abstract, impersonal math problem into a personal, emotional decision. So when people consider the trolley problem, here's what the brain imaging reveals. In the footbridge scenario, where you actually have to push the guy, the brain areas involved in motor planning and emotion become active. But in pulling the lever scenario, the only brain areas involved are those involved in rational thinking. People register emotionally when they have to push someone. But if you only have to tip a lever, your brain behaves like Mr. Spock, who's the Vulcan on Star Trek, who's all rationality and no emotion, who says, "Emotions are alien to me."